The red horse of the apocalypse is galloping. Revelation 6:4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Nearly every Bible commentary describes the rider on the red horse as practically the personification of war. I believe the rider on the red horse is a literal spirit of war. You can read account after account of a madness or frenzy that overtakes people involved in various bloody battles throughout history. Jeremiah 25:16, and they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I will send among them. Most people who have actually been involved in the killing of other people, even if it was during a war, rarely want to talk about it. The ancient Greeks had a name for this frenzy of killing called aristeia. In Homer's Iliad, Achilles experiences an aristeia and routs the army of Troy almost single-handed. Achilles kills the Trojan prince Hector and he drags the corpse around the city walls. In another instance, Diomedes is possessed by the goddess Athena during a battle and is instrumental in an overwhelming slaughter of Trojans. Certain Norsemen also experienced a similar frenzy during battle called Berserker Gang, which is where we derive the modern term going berserk. Berserkers often went naked except for animal skins and only fought with a sword and a shield. They were just as dangerous to their fellow fighters as to their enemies, furiously killing everyone within their reach, all the while barking, growling, and howling in a fit of rage. Can you say demon-possessed? Needless to say, you do not want to be in the military in these last days. The early church fathers taught that Christians should never join the military for over 300 years, up until around 400 AD, when Augustine of Hippo, St. Augustine, formulated the idea of a just war. The devil is the author of all war. We, who used to kill one another, do not make war on our enemies. We refuse to tell lies or deceive our inquisitors. We prefer to die acknowledging Christ. Justin Martyr. Under no circumstances should a true Christian draw the sword. Tertullian. A soldier of the civil authority must be taught not to kill men and to refuse to do so if he is commanded, and to refuse to take an oath. If he is unwilling to comply, he must be rejected for baptism. A military commander or civic magistrate must resign or be rejected. If a believer seeks to become a soldier, he must be rejected, for he has despised God. Hippolytus. It appears that many governments around the world may bring the military draft back, and they are even talking about having women sign up for selective service. Let me give you a little history lesson. The founders of the United States of America had a healthy fear of standing armies. They understood that throughout history, as the power of the central government increased, the liberty of the civilian population decreased proportionally. At the founding of the United States, the country relied heavily on citizen militias organized by the several states and by local communities. Citizen militias were the primary participants in America's early military confrontations from before the American Revolution up to and through to the beginning of the 20th century. Early Americans did not trust the federal government with a large standing army and counted on well-armed citizen militias to keep the small federal military under the control of the citizens of the country. It is not certain that with this aid alone, possession of arms, they would not be able to shake off their yokes. But were the people to possess the additional advantages of local governments chosen by themselves, who could collect the national will and direct the national force, and of officers appointed out of the militia by these governments and attached both to them and to the militia, it may be affirmed with the greatest assurance that the throne of every tyranny in Europe would be speedily overturned, in spite of the legions which surround it. James Madison. In the beginning of the 20th century, Congress began passing legislation to federalize the state militias. In 1913, the U.S. Constitution was amended to allow a national income tax, and the Federal Reserve was created by the Federal Reserve Act. In 1916, the National Defense Act was passed and required the term National Guard be used for all state militias. Not coincidentally, this greatly increased the power of the federal government just before the United States entered the First World War. Frankly, The citizens of the United States have been steadily losing their liberty since the passage of the 16th Amendment, the establishment of the federal income tax. The state militias were nationalized and a national central bank was formed, all three entities being recognized by our founders as the enemies of liberty. I expect three international organizations to be organized just a short time prior to the revealing of the Antichrist. 1. An international income tax collector. 2. An international military organization. And 3. An international central bank. Actually, the United Nations is working on establishing all three organizations right now. By the end of the Second World War, the United States had the largest standing army in the world, and it began a steady increase of our military occupation in nearly every nation on Earth. This is a long ways off course from the founders' original intention of a small standing army that did not get involved in foreign entanglements. Against the insidious wiles of foreign influence, I conjure you to believe me, fellow citizens. The jealousy of a free people ought to be constantly awake, since history and experience prove that foreign influence is one of the most baneful foes of Republican government. George Washington. I believe that after a Third World War, the world will come together and establish the three international organizations I mentioned above: a world central bank, a world income tax collector, and a world army, peacekeeping force, under the authority of a one-world government. These three world organizations will be the nucleus for the one world government and the eventual rise to power of one man, the Antichrist. Nearly every army in the world will eventually become internationalized. If you are a member of the United States military on one day, you will be informed that you have become a member of the world's military. You will have absolutely no say in the matter. SPC Michael New was convicted in 1996 of disobeying an order to wear a United Nations uniform and to deploy into Macedonia on Operation Able Sentry, under the command of a general officer from Finland. His objection was that he joined the United States Army, not the United Nations Army, and that his loyalty was to the United States Constitution, not to the United Nations Charter. SPC Michael New is the only American ever convicted of the crime of wanting to serve his own country, exclusively. Until the ruling is overturned, whether by court or by legislation, the precedent has been established that no member of the U.S. military can refuse to serve the United Nations when ordered to do so. Now I'm going to give you three really good reasons why you do not want to be in any military in the near future. First, when World War III is eventually over, there will probably be hundreds of millions or even billions of people dead. I believe there will be a limited use of nuclear weapons during World War III. Second, if you manage to survive the war, you will become a part of the New World Order's army and you will eventually be fighting for the Antichrist. The Antichrist will use his army to mainly persecute and kill Christians. Therefore, if you are an acknowledged Christian, your chances of survival are slim to none. Third, if by some slim chance you survive the Great Tribulation, then you and every survivor in the military will be shipped off to a place in the Middle East called Armageddon, where you will be fighting against Jesus Christ himself. Needless to say, you will lose. Revelation 19:17, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, "Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God." Revelation 19:18, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. Revelation 19:19. And I saw the beast, and the kings of the earth, and their armies, gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. Revelation 19:20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. Revelation 19:21, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. I know it is very difficult to buck the system, but Christians have been peacefully resisting governments for nearly 2,000 years. Jesus Christ is our perfect example, and he peacefully resisted the system until he was crucified. Glory be to God. He rose again on the third day, and all Christians will also be resurrected at the last trump. The simple solution is to not get caught up in the beast system. Start peacefully separating yourself from the world system. If your government wants you to do something that is against your conscience, like killing somebody, you can refuse to do it. It is not some brand new idea. People have been refusing to kill other people for a long time. They are called conscientious objectors. They are also called followers of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace. Guess what? There are millions of people in the United States who live and work completely incognito. They are called illegal aliens, and they exist in nearly every country on Earth. They do not have identifications or passports or visas or any proper documentation. The Romano, or Gypsies, have been doing precisely this for hundreds of years. That is why governments do not like them. Usually the worst thing that happens if you are caught is that you spend a little time in jail and then you are shipped out of the country. Big deal. One more thing, I watched a 60 Minutes program where Social Security was informed that living people were dead. It happens to thousands of people every year. Their bank accounts were closed, and they were essentially forced to actually live outside of the system because they could not open a checking account or use a credit card or get a legal job. In the future, being considered dead by the government may be a blessing in disguise. In the future, I believe millions of people in the United States and all around the world will actually die by war, famine, and disease. But that may be an excellent opportunity to send a notification to Social Security that you are dead and then disappear off the grid. Then nobody will be looking for you to make you join the military or take the mark of the beast. Just an idea I am throwing out there for Christians to think about. 1 John 2:15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. 1 John 2:16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life, is not of the Father but is of the world. If you find these videos educational, please like and subscribe. God bless you. Thanks for watching.